All right, welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever just stopped and wondered why some things take off? An old book, a new idea, some random meme, and suddenly it's everywhere, spreading like wildfire. Well, turns out it's not random at all. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden rules of this secret social game that's being played all around us.
Okay, so let's start with a bit of a mystery. You take a book like Anne of Green Gables. It was written over 100 years ago, but people are still passing it from friend to friend, generation to generation. Meanwhile, literally millions of other books get published and just disappear without a trace. So what is it? What gives a story like that an almost immortal quality, while most just vanish?
Now, the easy answer, the one we all want to believe, is to say, well, it's just better, right? That quality always wins out in the end. But if that were actually true, the world would be a perfect meritocracy, and we all know it isn't. The real story, it turns out, is way more interesting than that. See, these stories aren't just succeeding by chance. They're actively winning a hidden social game. They're designed not just to be read or watched, but to get people talking, arguing, sharing. So today, we're going to break down the playbook. We're going to find the cheat codes that make things catch on. So, what's the first rule of this game? Well, you have to understand your biggest opponent. And the #1 barrier that any new idea faces isn't criticism or bad reviews. No, it's the final boss of this whole game, pure, unfiltered apathy. The simple fact that most people just don't care. To really get why, the Japanese thinker Yodo Takashi gave us this brilliant little formula. It's just y equals a times x. So let's break that down. X is your content, your book, your idea, your meme. Y is how much people perceive its value to be. But the real key, the secret ingredient, is A, the audience's pre-existing interest. It's a multiplier, and believe me, that multiplier is everything. And here's the brutal truth of that equation. If the audience's interest, that A value, is at or near 0, it doesn't matter how incredible your X value is, because 0 times a million is still 0. To a totally disinterested audience, even a groundbreaking idea is perceived as just nothing new. It's like it's completely invisible.
This table really breaks it down perfectly. You've basically got two kinds of audiences you can target. First, there's the core, the mainstream. They are absolutely saturated with options, so their interest value, their A, is incredibly low. To them, your amazing work is just more noise. But now look at the periphery, the niche audiences. Their interest is extremely high. They've been desperately waiting for something exactly like this. And for them, that very same content isn't nothing new. It's a life-changing experience. And that right there is why going straight for the mainstream is a losing game from the start.
So, if a direct assault on the core is pretty much doomed to fail, what's the winning strategy? Well, you have to think indirectly. You got to get clever. And the answer comes from a really surprising place: Brazilian jiu-jitsu. See, in BJJ, you don't just charge at your opponent's strong core. No, you attack the periphery. You grab the wrist to gain control of the shoulder. You use leverage. And this is that move translated into our game. It's a 4-step path to the core. First, you find and target a passionate periphery. Step 2, you create something so good for them it turns them into evangelists. Then, step 3, all that passionate excitement generates social proof, which finally, makes the mainstream core a little curious. And that curiosity, that's what overcomes their apathy. And boom, step 4, you've gained access. Okay, so we've got the grand strategy. Now we need the actual playbook. How do you design something to get that kind of passionate, evangelical reaction from a niche audience? Well, we're going to look at 5 specific social activators that you can literally build right into your work. So here they are, the 5 core tools in the playbook. You can spark conflict, you can encourage cooperation, you can offer transformation, you can join a community, or you can create profound emotional resonance. Let's take a quick look at how each one of these really works. First up, we've got conflict. This move is all about intentionally creating a bit of friction, and The Catcher in the Rye is the perfect example. The massive backlash from parents and schools trying to ban the book is the very thing that made it a badge of rebellion for teenagers. The controversy became the marketing. The argument spread the idea for them. The next tool is cooperation. This is where you don't just hand people content, you give them a puzzle that they have to solve together. A book like House of Leaves is so dense and full of codes, it's basically impossible to figure out on your own. It literally forces readers to go online, to find forums, and to collaborate, building a whole community out of that shared struggle to figure it all out.
Then you've got transformation. This is all about giving your audience a brand new identity that they can wear, one that becomes a form of social currency. Think about the 4-hour workweek. It didn't just sell productivity tips, it sold the identity of a lifestyle designer. Sharing the book became a signal, a way to tell the world you were part of this cool, new, forward-thinking tribe.
The community move is brilliant because it's about finding a party that's already in full swing and just walking in. You don't have to build an audience from scratch, you just find one that already exists. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey famously started out as fan fiction for the Twilight community. It tapped directly into this massive, pre-existing, passionate conversation, giving it a built-in audience from day one.
And finally, there's resonance, a tool that feels like it was practically built for the social media age. The novel Fourth Wing completely exploded on Book Talk for one simple reason. Its plot twists created these incredibly intense, visible emotional reactions. People gasping, crying, just looking totally shocked. And they couldn't help but film themselves and share it. The reaction is the advertisement.
So, you've learned the 5 moves. You're ready to get out there and play, right? Well, hold on. Here's the final twist. This isn't a game you can just beat. The final level is realizing that the game, it never actually ends.
You see, the thing about these amazing tools is that they actually decay through their own success. As a move gets popular, people learn how to counter it. It's just like in jiu-jitsu. Once everybody knows a certain technique, it just stops being so effective. Audiences develop an immunity, and the thing that worked yesterday might be completely ignored tomorrow. Now, this is what the real pros understand. The goal isn't just to reach the mainstream core. The real goal is to use the authority you gain from the core to reach other completely new peripheries. Once you have that mainstream credibility, you can enter conversations that were totally closed to you before. You get to start the game all over again, but this time from a much, much more powerful position.
And this all leads to this huge fundamental shift in how we think about creating things. The classical idea, going all the way back to the ancient Greeks, was to create a perfect finished story. A clear beginning, middle, and end. The goal was a perfect ending. But in the social game, the objective is the exact opposite.
The goal isn't a story that ends, it's to start a story that lives on. The most powerful ideas, the most viral creations, they aren't perfect, finished objects. They are the start of a conversation. They win because they don't just conclude, they invite endless debate, interpretation, and passion, giving them a life that can go on, potentially, forever.
And once you see the game, you really can't unsee it. You'll see it everywhere, in the books that go viral, the ideas that catch fire online. You have the playbook now. So the only real question left is, what conversation will you start?